Let me tell you how it will be.
Welcome back to The Price of Business. You know that music. And he's in our studios. Bob Loeser, Taxman Bob, we officially call him here on this program. And that being The Price of Business. And I am your host, Kevin Price. And good to see you, Bob.
Good morning. Good to see you. A happy 4th to you and all the listeners.
Yeah, and happy second half of 2015. What do you think about that? You and I, it seems like our theme is commiserating how fast our life is flashing.
I don't know where it's gone. I mean, the good and bad is I'm current with a lot of my work, but then I look forward and there's a lot of new work coming in, which is also good. But as you just said, we're 6 months done.
6 months done.
I mean, you know.
You can stick a fork in half of 2015. Right. It's just like incredible. And really, the older I get, the faster it goes. It's just incredible how fast it flies. So, first of all, congratulations on your new move.
Thank you. We moved in with actually a former contributor of The Price of Business, Jeff Green and Green Financial. I met him originally on your show when we did a couple of them together. We've done seminars together promoting retirees, ExxonMobil, Shell, BP, et cetera, where what they want to do and what the taxation of them doing it occurs in advance rather than after the fact. And so we've gotten a very good audience out of that. And what it's related to is mutual clients for both of us. Little
more offense and a little less defense.
Correct.
Yeah, and where's that location?
6363 Woodway Drive.
Oh, neat neighborhood.
It's right around the corner from Carrabba's at Voss and Woodway.
Yeah, I bet you'll be eating at Carrabba's.
There's another interesting story, if you recall. Jeff's family on his wife's side owns that Carrabba's.
Oh, really?
Right. The Mendola family owns several restaurants in town, inclusive of Nino's, which is, I think it's on West Alabama, in town. But the Carrabba's, his Aunt Rosie runs. And another small world to that, which we didn't know back when, but my first blind date with now my wife, next month will be 25 years, was at that Carrabba's that night when we closed it down.
Wow.
So you talk about how things come around in circles over time. I mean, I didn't know Jeff, didn't know the family, didn't know Aunt Rosie, and it ends up my blind date with my now 25-year wife was at that restaurant.
Yes. Wow. I always like to say that Houston's the world's largest small town.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just one more piece of evidence in my argument.
That's right. What's in your melting pot?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so out there on the financial front, what do you see going on out there?
Well, I do advise, and we talked about this last month. And if you're not aware, I mean, as the federal government, sort of waves their magic wand and says there was no Benghazi, and don't worry about Baltimore. We didn't really tell the patrol officers to step down and move back. Now the latest phase is. If you have a refund, I'm going to say a tax refund for the 2014 return of over $20,000, it's being held intentionally by the U.S. government because I think they're running out of money. So what they've decided to do is pay the little guys, the $500 refunds, the $1,200 refunds, the $2,500 refunds.
The masses.
All right. Supposedly, when they initially started this back in February, March, it was 6 to 8 weeks to get your refund, whether it was $2 or $200,000. Well, I am one of now 8 that I'm aware of client-wise that are over the $20,000 mark, and it's now running on 12 weeks.
Wow.
All right, and at the 8-week mark, just so that they had something to say, they sent you a little note saying, oh, by the way, we're reviewing your tax return, and you'll be notified in the near future of your refund. Reviewing it for what?
Yeah.
All right, reviewing it so that the dear president can get a couple more rounds of golf in before they have to pay me my refund? All right. So what I'm leading to in particular is, and it's kind of interesting, your senator out there will help you and assist you with the problem if you've gone past this 10, 12-week period. I, here in Houston, have contacted Ted Cruz's office, not the Washington, D.C. office, but the Austin office. They will have you sign off on a privacy waiver signature, getting your information as to what your refund should have been, whatever, and research it for you. And I've done that about 2 weeks ago, and I recommend to those out there, find Cruz's number, insist, and make this a campaign because it's not being heard because there's not thousands of people. There's hundreds of people that have maybe 20,000 coming. But my response is if we're all equal taxpayers, why should Why are they worrying about the 1,000 people at $200 that they pay them off and they don't have to hear the roar, but they don't take care of the 150 or so that have these large refunds coming?
Yeah.
And they're legitimate refunds. The refunds because businesses went bad, because of the economy, because of the environment, and they got to write it off.
Yeah.
You know?
Maybe you ought to do a better job with those issues.
Correct.
So we have less things to write off, right?
Correct, or change the loopholes. But I mean, and that's another, we lead into another segment. You know, all these Republican candidates talking about changing the tax code and whatnot. First off, so that you're all aware, because I've gotten the questions 24 times over the past 2 weeks, it's not going to change over the next year and a half. It's not going to happen. Not going to happen until January of 2017, when somebody gets started and says, well, now that we've got whoever it is, and hopefully from our standpoint it's a Republican in the White House, here are the changes that are going to be made. Yes, loopholes need to be changed, but some of the things like cutting mortgage expense, cutting charitable, you know what's going to happen? It's going to affect the charities, and it's going to affect the home building.
Yeah.
Because if the two choices are, I could fortunately, and I'm not saying me, but I'm well off. I can go out and buy a $2 million home and finance $1.2 million. If my $1.2 million isn't deductible any longer, why should I go out and buy a $2 million home? I'll go out and buy a $1 million home, finance $300,000 of it, and although I don't have as big and glamorous as a house, I don't have the non-deductible items because the government has changed the exposure.
Right. Yeah, you know, the reality is that there's a huge number of people that make a living off of the current convoluted million-page plus tax code.
Correct.
And, you know, and they're all going to be clamoring to keep things as they are, even while they bellyache and how much it personally inconveniences them. That's how they're making their living.
Correct.
You know, and so it's extremely frustrating. You know, and meanwhile, the United States becomes increasingly less competitive internationally.
Right. And you know, the issues here are, the people know out there that the tax rate's 23% for the alt-min tax. So, I mean, the bottom line comes to the wealthy are still paying 23%. Right? Yeah. I mean, that's not a kick in the bucket. It's not like you're getting 8%. And in some instances,
and it's higher than most of the industrial world.
Right. And even, for example, elderly. If elderly have interest dividends, Social Security tax, they could earn, many of them, up to $100,000 and not pay a single penny in tax because of the way the tax code. And I think that's fair because they're in their upper years and they've saved for it and they deserve it. But the same token to say, well, the wealthy should pay 40% or 30% because why?
Right.
Who went out and exposed themselves to a new office, a new warehouse, a new mortgage, a new line of credit at the
bank?
All
the risks that created jobs.
Hiring 50 people, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, no risk, no reward. If those aren't taking risk and they're out there and they're fine, my response is, well, that's your plight in life. That's what you want.
Yeah.
You don't want to go out and run your own business. And there's many people out there that have no problem following. All right.
They have the luxury of having, when their day is done at 5 o'clock, their day's done until 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock.
Correct. And they get a paycheck.
And business owners never have that luxury.
Right. You're the last one to get paid. And people don't understand that. Well, you're making whatever. You're making $120,000 a year. Yeah, but my check's the last one each month.
Yeah.
All right. And if I don't make that 10 a month and I only make $7,500 that month, that's my problem because now I got to go out and find another $2,500 worth of cash for the following month to catch up from what I'm behind. Mm-hmm. But you as an employee still make your $60,000 a year or $45,000 a year. All right. It's a difference. Again, leader and follower. And there's nothing wrong with either plight in life. All right. There's just different exposures. One, you don't have as much as you want, but you get home and spend time with your kids and you watch them grow up. The other, you're working until 10 o'clock at night because you got a project that's due 9:30 tomorrow morning.
Yep.
All right. And the risks and the rewards of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And why should you be punished for being the one that's willing to do the things that literally keeps this economy afloat? Mm-hmm. You sound like the corollary or the appendix to Atlas Shrugged.
Right.
We're seeing it every single day. And I know a lot of people who think more and more about why am I working this much, or they're figuring out how they can make their capital take flight to other parts of the world where it's friendlier to do it. And that's almost everywhere now.
Correct. But, I mean, again, there's risks and rewards with that, too, because you also have quality issues where here you know and hope that you can oversee the quality. If you send it off to Beijing or wherever, Taiwan, the quality of what you receive back in product may be diminished.
Yep.
Not in all cases, but maybe diminish, and you have no control over it.
But they're making it harder for people not to find those risks attractive.
So, but now, the Republicans are trying to field a football team. If they get up to 22 candidates, they've got a full offense and a full defense.
Yeah, and they'll destroy each other. Because let's face it, that's what the Republicans are best at doing.
That's right.
Who do you like so far? Now 14 announced candidates.
Well, it's kind of funny because what I like, because I come from business, is the person that draws the line in the sand and says this is what we need and we want. And I hate to say this, but there's only one right now.
Yeah.
All right. And he's a far-fetched. So if you're asking me, do I want him? I don't know yet because I don't know where he stands on certain things. But not only will Trump draw that line in the sand, he'll throw the sand in their face if it comes down to it.
Exactly right.
And you know what? We need that Reagan in our next president. We don't need one, well, if you do this, we'll step back a little bit. We'll give you a little bit more aid. We'll kiss your backside. We don't need that any longer. We need to be strong. Yeah. We need the people to, literally, I think if you have a strong leader, people will literally follow in line saying, okay, I've got my weapon. Where do you want me to go?
Yeah.
I mean, that type of response rather than, well, we got a weak leader. As long as I'm taking care of my family, who cares?
Mm-hmm.
All right? But that isn't what America's all about.
Yeah, I think anyone who underestimates Trump may be doing it to their own demise because I tell you right now, the guy has plenty of money, and he's talking in a way that people don't normally hear politicians talk, and he sounds like he has a spine, which is, something we don't see in politicians often.
In either side in Washington. And I think the other thing is, whether it's good or bad, I think if he is a part of that first debate, he's going to weed out 4 to 6 candidates right there.
Wow.
Right, that's what my response, because they aren't strong enough, and he'll go after him, going, "Well, your policy on this is this, and you want U.S. to be an isolationist." Rand Paul. All of that is going to come out with Trump on the offensive. You think about it. How much do you spend? You spend millions upon millions of dollars in a campaign that's going to lead to 7th place. What does 7th place get you?
Right.
A little plaque.
People are going to be very surprised. I think he's going to go. I don't think he gets the nomination. I think he goes way further than anyone ever expected.
And maybe it cleans up what's going on with both parties and saying, you go there, you represent us, you don't represent us until you get there, and then close the door and make deals behind us.
Yep. Bob Loeser, we call him Taxman Bob. You can reach him at taxmanbob@pdq.net. Your number?
Same phone number, 713-953-1272, 713-953-1272.
When we come back, we're going to have much more for you right here on Your Price of Business.
How it will be. There's one for you, 19 for me. 'Cause I'm the tax man.